The Simlab's P1 took about 9 hours to put together whilst live streaming. Partly because I'm a bit thick, but also because we were live streaming. And then took around about 15 hours to get all the wheels and pedals and everything on it cable tidied and all good. But crucially, we're now here, and this video is a sort of first impressions of the rig. Of the rig build. We're not doing any driving in this video. I just wanted to do a sort of rig tour and talk a bit about the building and what's good and what's bad about the rig. So far, having not driven it particularly, well, I've done one lap. I've done one lap in a GT2 car to make sure everything was connected, and indeed it was. So, well, first things first, guys. I mean, how nice is that? Maybe it's just me, but I think that I think the rig fulfills the arousal levels here. It looks awesome. You can't go wrong with aluminium T-slot. It's where it is. Aluminium extrusion T-slot. So it looks amazing. It is definitely very solid. As I said, it's a little bit of a test. It doesn't move at all. When you move the wheel, it's not going to budge. But you also, just the width of it, the weight of it, I think all said and done, it's around about, with the seat on, it's around about 100 kilograms. And then when I'm on it, it's around about 3,000 kilograms. So it doesn't move, it's totally planted. We've got 8 coasters on the floor to try and distribute the weight, but chances are it's going to go through the floor. So that's one downside of the rig. But yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous and it's absolutely solid. What more could you want from a sim rig? Well, I'll tell you what more you could want. The fact that it's essentially infinitely adjustable because of the sort of T-slot profile. And this is one of the things we found putting it together initially. I'd never used any of this T-slot stuff before, so it was a little bit new to me. I had to get my head around it. But now, guys, I'm totally thinking in T-slot. I just want everything to be built out of this. And for a sim rig, I don't know if I could go back because you can put anything wherever you want it. So, for example, with the Sparco Thrustmaster handbrake, product placement sponsored by Thrustmaster. This video is not sponsored, but we were sent that by Thrustmasters. Check out with Dirt Rally soon. My God, I'm just like an advert. It's infected my brain. But with this, with the handbrake, we've just got the two aluminium plates there that we stuck on to I don't even know what they're called, just brackets, and then you can just bolt on stuff at the bottom, and then because of the way this works, you can just unscrew those, and you can just slide it. You can just slide it forwards and backwards, and put it exactly where you want, or move it up and down. And most of these bolts and whatever, you know, they're all like standard bits. You can see some here where I've not actually put anything in them. You can obviously just you can just move these around, and then I can attach what I want to it at a later date. I mean, I've just left them in because I'm lazy and I'm making the rig look awful. The pedals again, you just stick them in. We just bolt them onto these bars here, and you can just slide them around wherever you want. Now, obviously, in this case, these are Proto Simtech PT1 pedals. I've got them on the Proto Simtech plastic plate, just so I can only use 3 bolts, and I wanted to stick it on quickly. Ideally, or normally, you would take these off individually, and then you can place every pedal exactly where you want on this monstrously wide pedal plate bar, allowing you to, you can just position stuff exactly where you want it, and you can position it in a way that's not too time consuming to position it. With some other stuff, with some other rigs I've used, it's a little bit of a fidgety to actually get stuff on the rigs and position it. So I mean, it's incredible what you can do with this just a simple T-slot system. And obviously these are sort of fairly the way it works with the Simlab's kit is basically what they do is they get the aluminium extrusion and they essentially sell it all bundled up ready to go for you to put it together with their additional brackets and mounts that they sell. But at the end of the day, there's nothing stopping you going out and buying the aluminium extrusion yourself, either to add to your Simlab's cockpit or to build one yourself. So it's incredible. My life has been changed through the world of extrusion. You can see here, like, actually what I have found as well is you can, obviously most things have holes in, so you can just screw them on anyway. but stuff that actually sticks to it quite well if you're using double-sided Velcro, which I use, or just double-sided sticky tape. Stuff seems to actually bond to it quite nicely, which I was surprised, because you think with metal that's particularly cold or slick or whatever, it might not bond to it, but I haven't had any issues with that stuff just sticking to it straight away. Awesome. On the subject of the custom plates and brackets they do, obviously the pedal plate's a Simlab's custom jobby, but the wheel mount here, this one's the wheel mount here specific for the direct drive wheels, the small majors, not the Fanatec direct drives, but like the majors and what have yous, allows for it to be front mounted. So you get this big plate, you stick it together, put your wheel on the front of it, and then now I can, not only is this is ridiculously solid, I mean you could probably put 2 elephants on top of it if they perched and balanced very carefully. Totally rock solid, but because of the use of the 3 bolts either side, you can, don't know if that's clear on the camera or not, you can get the actual angle of the wheel 100% to what you want it to, and obviously the height of the wheel as well. You can just set it up, tilt, height, and you've got really fine adjustment of the forwards and backwards. Again, I mean this rig is just the adjustment's insane. T-slot, world changed. We've got well, you see over here we've got the Fanatec shifter on here. Again, it's just using some the Fanatec shifter actually did have a mount, and then we've just used two angles to mount that on. Again, totally solid. The mouse is gone. It's not going anywhere. It's totally just rock solid. Amazing. So before we talk about the, because it's not all perfect, guys. It's not perfect. I'm going to talk about some of the negatives of this rig. But before we do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cable ties, because that's one of the reasons why this took like 15 hours to put together. I really, when putting this rig together, I really wanted to make it so that it was done properly, like tidy. You know, if you're moving something from your other rig, and the previous rig I had with the K2 Cockpit, which is an awesome rig, and I highly recommend getting if you're on a budget and you want something decent, get the K2 Cockpit. But with that, when I got it, it was more just a case of I've got the rig, stick everything on it. We've got to make videos. We've got a live stream. Go! New items, stick it on it. I hadn't really thought about it with the cabling, and with cable ties and with putting stuff on a rig, you really want to like put the time into like actually thinking about, oh, where am I going to place it in the room? Where should the cables go? How's the neater way of putting it through? What's a good way of putting it together so that I can still move it in the future? I can adjust it. I can add more stuff to it without ruining the previous cable ties. It required some Benedict Cumberbatch code breaker thinking to work out, but yeah, so this was an opportunity with this rig to move everything onto a new rig and have it done very nice and sexy. So with the cables, again, more T-slot excitement. Let's see if I can get a better shot. So one thing that's nice with the T-slots, you can here maybe on the monitor stand. The monitor stand is separate to the actual rig, by the way, guys. We'll get a better shot of that. Just separate monitor stand's pretty good, because it means when the rig moves, the monitors don't move at all. But for me, it means I can move the monitor around and I can add stuff to the monitor or change things over. They do a monitor bracket that goes on the rig, which I've seen. I've seen someone else's in real life, and it works really well and it's great. So if you wanted a smaller, compact option, the on-rig monitor stand's probably a good option. But for me, the separate monitor stands are vital for what I do. Anyway, let's look at the cables on the monitor stand, because it's the same sort of thing. So you see what's going on. Just with the T-slot again, you can route the cables. Oh, this is not gonna. Don't know if it's gonna do the brightness. Let's up the brightness here. Black on black, guys. Up the brightness. Well, there we go. Look at that bloom, J.J. Abrams. So with the T-slot, you can actually fit some of the cables down here. It'd be nice to have some kind of bracket that holds a cable in place. I didn't have any to hand, so I've just used loads of cable ties on this. And obviously with this being the black finish on the cockpit and the monitor stand, it hides the black cables. So again, personally, I'd recommend getting the black finish cockpit rather than the white finish cockpit, but I'll go into the pros and cons of that later on. So we've routed all this down with the monitor, which is fantastic. But one thing that I found on Amazon, which is awesome, are these neoprene cable ties, cable tidies. There's two types, and so I thought I'd get both of them and test them out. One of them is like I guess this is a sort of a 50cm zip type one, which if you've got a short bit of cable, so in this case coming from the PT1 pedals to the pedal box here, there's 3 cables here. It goes over that, and that works really nicely for short bits of cable, but for anything longer this is a bit useless, to be honest. It just happens to work well in this situation. Maybe if you've got a bunch of cables coming out your back of your PC, this little type of cable tie thing would be a nice way to group them all together. But the other type is basically this, like, again, same neoprene job, but it's like a metre long, and it doesn't have a zip, it's just Velcro, and it's a lot thicker and much better for the for sim racing stuff. So in this case, I've got both the power supply and the controller cable going into that. Then I've got about 2 USB cables going through there, and then they all go into this. So it's got, and then it's got the monitor cable, the power brick cable for the monitor. So you know, it's got sort of that much, made you look, it's got that much cable diameter, but it all goes into that, and because it's Velcro you can add to it at a later date, whereas if you cable tie stuff together it can be quite hard to like add to it in a neat way and then have it hidden away nicely. Ignore these cables here, I'm going to close that gap up so that'll be tidy. Oh my god, firehazard.com. So I would highly recommend, I'll put a link under the video to this, I'll put an Amazon affiliate link, why not. I'd highly recommend this neoprene cable tie. I'd use it for everything now. It's changed my life. It is £10, but it's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic stuff. I'll give you a close up. We've routed that down there, so you can see we've got most of the cables going to a bit of plastic tubing, which is tied to the rig here using cable ties. Now I've used some bolts, so this is like actually this tube is attached to the rig using the bolts there, so that's always there. And then it's got a little bit of slack here. This has got a fair amount of slack on it, and I set that up so that I can basically move the rig about probably about 1 metre, 2 metres around the room, along with the monitor stand as well. It's good to have a little bit of slack when you do your cable ties. If you go too tight with it, unless you intend to never move anything, when you do move stuff, it has the hazard of ripping stuff apart. So I'm super happy with the cable ties. I went maximum autism mode with the cable ties, and just the fact that we've got everything to hand here, so I can just change the pedal sensitivity, and I can push that with my foot if my head is caught in the wheel. There's still some cable mess over there, but that's my stream stuff that's always going to be loose and moving around, so I can't really do much about that. Need wireless stuff there. Not much more really to say about cable ties. I mean, I know it's exciting, guys. I know the arousal levels have shot through the roof with the cable tie stories. The one thing I would say though, I was really surprised that despite routing all the cables through there, we haven't got any EMI issues. And this is from the direct drive with the Simulcube box. I don't ever seem to get EMI issues, electromagnetic interference. I don't know why, but I don't. Maybe I absorb it all because it's so dense in the head. Oh mate, it's the bulb patch reflects the EMI off into the ceiling. Genius. You need to be like me and Sean Cole, guys. We've got it covered. So that's mostly the positives. I mean, it's a mind-blowing rig. I really do like it. So really grateful to Simlab for sending this to us. They've sent it to us for free to review. So I'm a lucky little boy, or a lucky tyre around my waist boy. So. Negatives though, we can't be all positive. This is British time, and I haven't had a biscuit today. Negatives, okay. First negative I would say is with the biggest negative that could be rectified, so it's worth you knowing this if you're buying one of these. The pedals and the way the pedal tray goes on here, now you can move it forwards and backwards and adjust and everything, that's all great, that's all fine, that's dandy, but the pedals are too high basically for maximum comfort. The way they've designed this is for it to be like a GT position. So if you like high pedals, maybe you've got more of a bucket seat that gives you more leg support. We're using the Sparco R33 seat on here, which is like a reclining car seat. It's a really nice seat and everything, but it's not quite got the angle with the tilt options on the bottom of the mounting to really support the under your thighs for pedals that are this high. But even with a bucket seat, I have used this same rig with a bucket seat. I would say it would be nice to have the pedals to be adjustable down further, because you can move them up a lot, you can tilt them, but you can't move them any further down. So that's like the lowest that they are at the moment, is the lowest you can set them. But crucially, if you tell Simlabs before you buy it, and you say, I really want the pedals to be lower, they can send you thinner bits of metal that then allow you to put it on a lower rung, and you can get it lower. Or you could just buy the metal yourself, you know. You can do whatever you want. But if you bought the P1 as the P1 cockpit, as it is, the pedals, in my opinion, are too high, or the lowest option you have is too high. So it would be nice if the pedals had the option to be lower out of the box. Just make sure if you do buy this cockpit that you tell them you would like lower pedals, and I think they can accommodate you by just giving you thinner bits of T-slot for the pedal unit. Second disadvantage or downside with this rig is the black paint. It looks awesome, and I've not managed to scratch it too badly, but you will notice I'm not going to be able to find any scratches now. Now I'm trying to be negative. The rig's going to put up a fight and disprove me. But you will notice when you slide, if you say you've mounted something half and half and you're like, oh, I want to adjust it a bit, so I'll loosen it and I'll slide it quickly because I'm lazy. I mean, who isn't? I mean, time wasted in the sim rig could be time drinking tea or time on the track. So you're moving it left and right, you'll notice it can scratch it up quite easily. Now, the scratches aren't going to be awful. I mean, there's some small scratches here, there you go. But you can scratch it, I would say, relatively easy. Now, a bit of Sharpie on it will hide small scratches, and you're not going to notice unless you're sticking your eye socket onto it. but you know, you do notice the scratches. You can scratch it. That's something to be aware of if you're using the black rig. It does and can scratch. Other issues or potential issues. Out of the box, it would have been nice to have more of these angles, these aluminium, both language. I'm multilingual here, American and English. It'd be nice to have more of these angles because they're really handy for mounting additional things. They're a little bit tight on them and they're not particularly expensive, so it'd be nice for them to give more of those in the box. The plastic finishing things here, these things don't always fit in quite as easily, or they're very tricky to get in, and if you try and remove them, sometimes the plastic can snap on it. So you might be able to see here, I don't know, maybe you can't see it very clearly, probably the most out of focus video in the history of videos here, but the little knoblets that come out of the plastic can snap, so it can be hard to get it to go completely flush. I'm not sure if I'm bothered with it being a bit bare. I've not attached all the plastic finishings to it. I mean, yeah, I guess it finishes it off with the plastic ends and stuff on it, and they give you all the plastic ends to cover everything on this if you want to. It does smooth it off, and I guess it smooths off the sharper edges, but they're a bit of a fidget to get perfectly flush, and as I say, if you try and remove them, they do break quite easily. Other than that, off the top of my head, from the first impressions of building it, really, it's an absolutely extraordinary rig just to sit on. I'll do some driving and talk about how it affects the force feedback and everything, having a rig this solid, and it's surprising how much of a positive effect it does actually have. But there you go. I mean, that is basically an introduction to the rig and our cable tie journey. Colin the Carp endorses it, so he's happy with the rig. But before we finish this video off, and just before you guys die of old age and rig excitement, we've got one thing here. Now, one thing I noticed when as I said, I did 2 laps in a GT3 car. One thing I noticed was I was a bit slow, and I thought to myself, why am I so slow? It's got to be the rig. It's not me. It can't be me and my low level of skill. It's got to be the sim rig. And then I realised what makes cars faster. Racing stripes. But what's even faster than racing stripes? Like, what do people put on rubbish cars to make them faster? Situation rectified, guys. We're now going to be the fastest sim racers on Earth. Gregor Hutu retired. I mean, as long as we can use this, we've won. I mean, look at that, guys. Absolute beauty. We're set now. No one's going to be able to beat us. First place every race. Some might say it's a little bit tacky. Some might also claim it's superfluous to the role of a sim rig. All I can say is, you'll be in my mirror because I'll have beaten you. What a babe, guys. What a babe. LED lighting makes everything great. It's like being on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. But there you go. That is our first impressions and cable tie walkthrough of the Simlab P1 cockpit with Colin the Fish. Just ignore Henry the Hoover over there. There's still some tidying to be done in the room. Hang on a minute. It is spotless in here. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe, guys. Camera's having a seizure. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe. I will see you on a live stream in our videos very soon. Thanks for watching. Happy sim racing, everyone. Goodbye.